I see is we want our support staff and our teacher contracts to pass. And if we have too many warrant articles out there, it's gonna be no.
No, it makes sense.
You know?
I think the other thing too is, I think one of the issues is that we have to look at ourselves is, did we as a school, I mean, I know their goal was to have a foreign language teacher this year, but did we as a school board, make sure that our administration was prepared to add a foreign language teacher? And I don't think we did. And I think that was our problem, is that we just said we want one, then we just sort of fell asleep on it.
Well, no, what has happened is we had the curriculum committee.
Right.
They brought us the results.
Right.
And we said, how do the teachers feel about it? And the
Right.
survey went out to the teachers, and I believe you guys are scheduled to come to us
Right.
next meeting with the results from that
Yeah, I
survey
haven't
as to
seen
how the
those,
teachers feel.
Right.
And then, so we're kind of like putting the cart before the horse a
No,
little bit.
I'm just disappointed, that's all. But I understand when you.
No, I think it's good, I think it'd be a good goal for the curriculum committee to come up with a plan of how to implement a foreign language.
And I think it needs to be clear when we decide, when and if we decide to bring it forward, it needs to be extremely clear, and we all have to be on the same page, because the last time we came forward with the warrant article, and, you know, we were hit with questions about, well, what does it look like? Well, it's a world language teacher, well, we don't know what language it's gonna teach, they're gonna teach it, we don't know what the schedule's gonna look like, and, you know, we
No,
can't
I
come to the
understand. I
community
just-
with that kind of information.
If one push, I just like, I mean, maybe once a month we talk about it, at least touch base where we are.
You want to put the agenda as an ongoing discussion? We can do that.
I would say, do what you're saying, Greg, and put a deadline on it.
Mhm.
Say, we need to know what
We
we're
need a
gonna
plan
do
in
by a
place by
certain day,
June.
Right.
and then bring it forward in the following year.
Right.
Yeah.
And perhaps do something
Yeah.
at least a little bit this year on a different note, like VLAX
So
or
the VLAX,
RTI
yeah,
or
can
something, I
we
don't know.
please-
We need to find out if our students are able to do it, because you know, we don't know if VLAC starts at 8th grade, 9th grade, or we have to look into
And-
You can take some of
But
those
it's
courses.
individual.
One of the
Yeah, it is.
issues with VLAX or VHS, having had students who used those programs, is they're really designed for the self-motivated and the
Exactly.
student who's gonna sit there and actually
Mhm.
do the work, cause they check in maybe every 2 weeks. I mean, they do the work as you complete it, they respond to it. But if,
Well, my
if-
daughter took courses through them, and they check in with the parents every single month.
right,
They have a parent phone call, but as far as the kids, they check in on an as-needed basis, so.
right.
And if a child isn't on task because they have a schedule they're supposed to follow, then they check in, and if they're not getting a response, they check in with the parent, so it falls back on the parent. So the parents have to be on board with it, because it really falls back on the parent.
But-
The parents speak the language, it would be very helpful.
Does it cost us anything?
No.
It's
So maybe
free.
we need
It's
to
free
do
for
it
any
for an
student in
option.
New Hampshire, yeah.
Oh,
Anybody
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
They don't have to go through the school, they can do it all
But
on their own
like,
too,
we
yeah.
can just start that, so we get some.
And it's not just Spanish.
I'm
They
gonna
have
recommend we
math
take a
and
recess, and we'll get right back to this in 5 minutes, please.
Beeline.
Recess.
Recess. And any other questions about the budget?
You have a question about the?
I'm just having a hard time with the way they did the budget last year, and the fact that the gross budgeting had all the grant money in the budget last year. And now it's separated out again, but it doesn't look like that top number came down from what the grant funds were in the
Top
budget, but
number.
it may have, yeah, top number.
Which top number was?
Exactly,
There were
which-
many top numbers.
The operating, the
Right.
Fund 10.
Yeah,
Um,
that really, until we get get them transferred out, you won't really clearly see where things are.
Right,
Will that happen before this goes to the budget committee?
yeah.
Yeah, probably not. Because we've got to print it up and get the books made up by Friday. I think we can get, well, let's find out. She's walking across the corridor. We have to pull out three. We have to pull out Title 2A, which actually could be done very quickly. I could sit down and do that with her. And special ed was the difficult one. Title I shouldn't be that difficult. We might be able to do it.
I just think if we can make it as
clean as possible, yeah.
Clear as day, you know?
Yeah, let me work with her and let's see if we can get that done. I think we can. And then before the books go out, you'll be able to see the crossover, so it should be apples to apples.
Alright.
We have a brand new budget committee for the most part, so.
It's gonna be a lot of educating.
I think you already have backed it out when I look at these numbers though, like, because there's the 353, 423 is tuition, and then you have another 180 something in health insurance and other benefits, and if you add those together, it's all kind of adding up pretty well.
Yeah, it's
not
very
as
close.
good as I
Ellis
think
hasn't
it
done much
should.
at all, you know, in terms of going on, so it's very, very small effect. Everything else is contractual, health insurance and tuition.
That's true.
That's a lot.
So actually, the default budget's not gonna be that much different.
It should be about the same, yeah. In other words, it should be very close. That's what we were talking about, that they're gonna be very close.
Yeah, because all of our increased expenditures are almost all contractual.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
and there's not a lot of wish items in here that
No.
you could say, okay, we wish for this, but now.
Exactly. So it's gonna be very close. It's gonna be very close.
Okay, so I think what we want to do is make a motion to accept this budget, to present to the FudCom, if that's what we're ready to do, or,
Yes, I have one more question. Do we know the difference between what the default budget is and what?
It's gonna be close.
$1.
I like that.
Just kidding.
I went and did the history of all the voting budgets since 2007 today, and I saw this $1 difference between the default budget and the
Which one
proposed
won?
budget. I think the default one. But we have not figured the default budget yet.
It's gonna be very, very close though. I mean, I've done a preliminary sort of guesstimate, if you will.
$2.
Yeah, no, but there's so many things that have
You have to-
contractually bound that,
It's gonna be very close.
yeah.
So,
Last year it was actually more.
By a little bit, yeah.
so I'll make a
Bless
motion
you
to
again.
approve the suggested budget of, I don't know what the big number is, but what is the big
It's
number?
on the last page.
Well,
$12,053,383.71.
Yep, that's it.
that big number,
The page, the second page of this one.
yes. $12,053,383.71.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I mean, this budget, I'd like to, I think we should amend the motion, to include any changes that might occur regarding health insurance.
So should we say up to?
Yeah, up to, right.
So I amend my motion to spend up to $12,052,383.71.
Second.
Okay, and so we're voting on the motion to amend up to.
Right.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and now we're gonna vote on the motion that's on the floor to approve the budget up to $12,053,383.71.
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Okay, so the vote was 4-1 in favor of accepting the budget up to $12,053,383.71. And, our next line of attack here is the withdrew, budget, I guess we're going to accounts payable and payroll manifests. So, do we have any payroll manifests? Tammy, do you know? Did she
I
get-
was supposed to go
No,
grab.
she usually leaves them at your, she didn't leave them at your desk.
No.
Yvonne must have forgotten. Do you know where they are? I know where they are. I'll grab them.
I'm gonna, can I follow them just
Yeah.
so I know where they are?
Yeah.
Because I think the last time too, I didn't know where they
She
were.
forgot to put them away. They usually. That does not help. I just wanted to.
Oh my God.
These are a little bit strange. There we go. Okay. I know, it's getting to be like like that.
Yeah, really, we can all do this.
Just- I know, when I looked at the list and said, the warrants is due, you gotta be kidding me, like, last week it was like, what month is this? So, put that in. I knew what it was looking like, so it was just a matter of time. And then the vet, the council and everything, so.
It wasn't, the last couple, they were pretty huge reporting. Oh. Where am I?
Page 52.
Okay. I was gonna wait for it.
Do you need the actual manifest?
Okay, so what do we need? Yes, what do we have to do with it? I just don't remember on how I did it.
Are we good?
Okay, so let's see, manifest 14-8, it was, 1,099,864.06, and it was, let's see, made up of, large portion is the Sanborn, tuition in and out of district. And that is the majority of that one. Okay, and then we had 14-9. That was for 112,119.34. And that was, let's see. That had the cafe services, the majority of it, in busing. And then a smaller one, 1410, and that was 1,754. Do anything on the second one?
No, you just
Okay.
motion, you just have to motion all of
Okay, and what do we do for motion? Motion to accept,
Yep.
That's
the manifest as presented.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
What is AP and TR? Union
Accounts
report?
payable.
Accounts payable and payroll.
There we go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And we need to pass those all around and sign them
Already.
as we go. Review of draft warrant articles. They've gotta be here somewhere.
Yeah, I gave you another set of printouts because
Line
I,
item transfers.
Oh, you have
That's
new,
right,
oh,
yeah.
yeah, budget transfers first.
what
Right.
is transfer?
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
I have scribbles everywhere. Yep, I'm sorry, budget transfers are next. Do you want me to make you a copy of that here? Sorry, thank you. I think I have enough paper here. Sue, I found it. Sorry.
I'm sure I've already signed it.
Okay,
I don't know if you-
So budget transfers.
Yeah.
we have them right here. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the budget transfers?
No,
I had
it's-
one, but Sue answered it for me.
It's all grants.
What was that?
Well, because tuition public high school shows zero balance on the account, because everything's encumbered. So we were gonna move it from public high school to the grants, but there's no money there to move, but it's already encumbered, and so it's gonna come out of encumbrance and be moved.
Right.
That was my question.
A motion to accept the transfer of $32,955 as presented.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Review of draft warrant articles.
Okay, well, of course, the first warrant article is always the vote on elections, so I just started with number 2. And what I put at the beginning here is basically a listing of what is going to be done in each one. The first one I am suggesting is to create the high school tuition capital reserve fund with the board as agents to expend, so that we can have, even Brian Blake has this down in Sanborn, he said, if you don't have one, and after this year, we really need one. But this would allow us to run our operating budget a little bit closer to the chest and have the extra funds set aside every year.
It looks like we need to fund that with $500,000, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, if we wanna not have to
Well, let's
do
impact the budget.
I put in the warrant article up to, and every one of these is up to, so that, you know, if we have no money, again, we can put 50 cents in it to give it a start. But that's essentially the first thing. Then the second one is the same thing for special education.
So are we funding these out of
End of the year.
surplus?
Sure,
Oh, because
every
it
year.
doesn't say that. So there's no taxation,
Well, there is.
because it's coming out of the surplus.
All right, yeah, I haven't put that wording in. Voter raise, yes, it should be, it said funds to be used for purpose, that's right. I need to put in, UFB, unexpended fund balance, in there.
This sum is to come from the June 30th, 2014
Yeah,
fund
just
balance,
like-
if there's any, is that what you mean? For
Yeah,
all
I
of
didn't
these?
when I rewrote it, I didn't cut and paste that in, I'll just add that,
Yeah,
yeah, make sure that's.
because I thought we were raising.
No, all of this is
I thought
supposed
too.
to come from fund balance, same things, the second one is this special education capital reserve. The only other capital reserve that I would recommend to the board to consider in another year, because you don't want to have too many articles, is a technology fund. For,
Right.
you know, for servers and infrastructure and things like that, but 2 in 1 year is probably plenty, maybe more than enough. And then, of course, again, to add funds to the building maintenance fund would be the standard one that you do every year. Then here's the question, you know, with the talk about the science lab, do we want to have a specific warrant article for up to $50,000 to install a science lab classroom? That's for the board to discuss. The other on the wish list from John, to expend up to $15,000 to fund the facility studies. And those could either, you know, the 15 could possibly come out of unexpended fund balance as a possibility. And then the following would be the 2 CBAs. And then 1 special meeting if either 9 or 10 fail.
So is the numbering on, because the CBAs are 7 and 8, would that be 7 and 8, not 9 and 10?
Right, are you looking at, did I
I'm
not?
looking at the chart at the top.
Yeah, I may have, I did this sort of
Oh, all right.
9, the CBAs were, you're right, 7 and 8, so I need to fix that. Oh, no, 7 and 8, there they are.
Yeah.
There, right.
Yeah, but
Number
number 9.
Hold on.
Number 9,
Special
full special meeting,
9,
9,
10,
10,
7, 8.
should be 7 and 8 then.
Oh, you're right,
Yeah.
I didn't change it in the article, thank you. See, that's what we paid, that's what we had you here for. Good, that was a trick, I caught you.
Now, I just got a question about the capital reserve fund.
Yeah?
We can put, I have a capital, I thought capital reserve funds were only for purchasing capital, like, you know, cars.
Assets.
Yeah, assets.
Yeah, we're
And-
purchasing an education.
Right,
Well-
under RSA 35(1)C, you can
Yeah.
use them for these purposes. Yeah, and of course, this will always be vetted by council, but actually, I stole this wording from Prospect Mountain here, and it's already been vetted by council, so I figured it was right.
Save us money.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so we've fixed that, and then of course, we have to ask for the operating budget, is one article. And then again, do you want to ask under the new law to retain unexpended fund budget balances for emergency purposes? I suggested instead of the 2.5% allowed by law, that you go with 1% and see if you can get support for it. I know in some towns, that they have done that, they've been able to get by 1%, but not 2.5%. So it's a compromise. And then the last, of course, is to allow the district to accept and expend the unanticipated.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
So, I think, obviously, we need that article. I don't like the fact that we're limiting ourselves to only 1 year, because that means we gotta keep bringing it back every year.
That's right.
And the last time this passed, it said that the school board was, the keepers of the decision to accept unanticipated funds until this is rescinded, basically.
Right, but
And I
that's
think-
not what we're putting in. They're under 19420D, which is the one that says now you can.
198.
198, thank you, 19820B.
It was 198 too.
The new law says that you can do it in perpetuity.
I
You
don't know.
never have to bring it back again. I didn't put that in here, I figured it probably wouldn't pass, so it's up to you what you wanna do. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, so keep going. I'll get it.
She's saying it might pass for 1 year, but they may not wanna give it to us forever and ever and ever
Right.
again.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. We're gonna go through this every single year, really?
Well, actually, what we could, what could happen is we could do it, they can amend that article
At the-
at the regular session. So we could, take it out, make it in perpetuity, but, if there's a lot of opposition to it, then we could suggest that people could amend it just for 1 year.
It's
Or
up to
one of
you.
us could amend it for just.
The other
from the
suggestion
floor.
I would make is maybe to make it more palatable to the voting population would be to put in a caveat that says for any grants that are $5,000 or older, a public hearing will be held.
Which is the law
Actually, that is
anyway.
the law.
That's right, it is a law.
That's the law,
You're right.
so we,
Yeah.
yeah. But my wondering, if you will, is, after I had talked with someone on the budget committee that was instrumental in this rescinding, who said it wasn't the intent, it wasn't his intent to cause all this grief. I'm hoping it passes this year, so let's get it in there.
So you want to do it that
That's what
way?
I'm hoping, yeah.
Yeah, the 5,000 I think only applies to the in perpetuity. I don't believe it applies to
Right.
the single year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
I like to make it in perpetuity, why not go for it, why not go over everything, and then it can always be amended on the floor.
Yeah, you have to take out, I would take out,
I'll just add, I'll change it.
We'll just use the same warrant we used.
Yeah.
If we go in from last year, I think, but even back when it passed,
Yeah.
would be a good one to use too.
Yeah, I'll just pull the language out of the prior vote.
Yeah,
Sorry, can I ask a question? Just,
It's up to her.
go ahead.
is there any way to make it, I don't know legally if we can, but to make it more clear to people that this is grant funds? I mean, I know it says from us, because I feel like when you say unanticipated revenue, it's almost like people are reading that and they don't know what that means, and they might think that we're taking, it's gonna somehow cost them money, or even though we say, net impact to the voter is 0, I don't know, some way to make it clearer to, just speaking as a regular person.
We can ask the attorney.
but it's not always grant.
But
If somebody
it says
wanted to
that.
gift us money, it's not grant funds.
Isn't that the backup that you're planning to provide?
And it says revenue,
Go with
because
this.
revenue means
Oh,
you're
all the
getting
money.
money, you're
Yeah.
not spending money.
Revenue versus
Some
expenses.
people literally don't know what the word revenue means.
And
And I think sometimes we forget that when we're in the business, our vocabulary's up here and not everyone is.
I think
The
they
only
understand what
concern,
revenue is.
the only concern is that in 19820B, the language for the warrant article is specified
Right.
in the law. You have to use that
So you
specific
do
language,
have-
and it uses revenue.
But there's a voter information guide we put out,
Mhm.
and we can use plain language to explain it. And that usually goes to every household, the vote, whether people read it or not is a whole other story, but there is a voter information guide.
Can you actually even put in what we weren't allowed to accept for certain
Not in
things?
the warrant.
In the voter information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I meant.
That's gonna go out in the newsletter, voter information
Yes.
guide.
Yes.
That spreadsheet that I'm building is just gonna get planted right in there, I'm gonna cut and paste it.
Oh, good, so it explains exactly what.
That's why we're tracking it, yeah.
Yeah, send me an email right now.
I have a copy of the original warrant, the petition. It was a citizen's petition. So I have a copy of that and the people who signed it. And so I was going to plan on calling and talking to those people
Okay.
and letting them know that we're putting this back on and why we're putting it back on, if that's okay with the board.
That'd be great.
Because it will help for them to have a conversation with somebody and understand, and then they can pass the word to whoever else they know. But I'm just planning on making some phone calls, lots of phone calls, because there was quite a few people that signed that petition that I have in my file. So I think that's a good suggestion, though, to try to use plain language when I'm talking to them.
Anyway, so that's the list of warrant articles that I have, and you have to decide what you want, and then I'll have the council vet it, and we'll go from there.
So if we put the science lab on, but we have fund balance this year for it, then if they say okay to that, then I guess we have $50,000 more, but
But
it's
only
for
to
a
use the
science
science, so
lab,
we
so.
can't use it.
You
for
don't
others.
have to spend the money.
Right,
You don't have to spend it, so it'll just go back to the voters.
okay.
What we're talking about here?
If we put the warrant article on and it passed, and we had $50,000 left at the end of the year and decided to use it from the unexpended fund
Right.
balance, you simply don't spend the money from the warrant article and it just isn't raised in taxes. That's all.
Okay.
Can't we use the trust fund for the science club?
We don't have enough.
Yeah, we don't have any money on it.
The building maintenance fund, we can't use it because it's not, we can use it for some things, but not all.
It's for maintenance.
Yeah.
And also, we have, I think I left in your spots, the list from Scott that we have, and he has about $18,000 worth of improvements in the 2015 cycle.
Right.
We have about 30-something in the
35-ish.
in the trust fund. We would like to suggest that we use the 18 of that to do these particular
Oh, yeah.
projects.
So we need a public hearing for that, right?
You do need a public hearing for that?
Okay.
That's correct.
So we'll do that maybe at the next meeting, if that pleases the board.
Yeah.
So let's put that on the next meeting. But, okay, so for the warrants, is there anybody that wants anything else on the warrants?
You know, I like the first to the high school and special ed one.
Well,
That was a good idea.
Right, the only thing about the capital reserve fund is that we can put, the voters have to put money in it, and the voters have to take money out.
No, the board takes money out, the board acts as the agent.
Does it say that in here? The
Yes,
board
it
acts
does.
as the agent?
Yeah.
As the agent to expend from the fund.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the agent.
Yeah.
Okay, from the schools.
You'll just add the language that it comes from the unexpended fund balance.
Anybody else want any others, or?
Or anything taken
These
off.
What's that? Yeah, or any taken off?
I don't know, I'm just concerned with having all these warrant articles on there that our contracts aren't gonna pass. Which makes me wonder if we shouldn't wait until next year if the contracts pass and then put them on.
Yeah, I don't know if the contract's gonna pass anyway. That would increase in the budget we're having, I doubt very much it's gonna pass.
Well, in good
It
faith,
will
we
depend
have
on
to
what
go
the
forward.
cost is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if the cost is, yeah, right. If the cost is, then it's a wash, and if the cost is minimal, then I think it's kind of a wash whether we put them on or not, whether we have these on here or not.
Okay, so make a motion if you wanna change any of these, somebody, so we can
I'll make a motion
move
to
these.
approve them.
Motion to approve all of them?
Yeah.
As presented?
Yep.
Well, except that we're changing,
Well,
The intent.
yeah.
Changing, yeah, I think we should not motion to approve the last one until we can see the finalized version of it.
They'll all go to council next. If that's,
Right.
what you're doing now is approving the intent.
All right.
The
Now, if you
motion
want to-
approve the intent of the article.
There you go.
Do I have a second?
I'll just put the in
Second.
perpetuity here.
Any discussion?
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know, I just am concerned about the capital reserve fund. Taken away from the teacher contracts.
Even though they're
The
out of
cost
the,
this year, the cost from this year, though, they don't have an effect on next year's budget.
No, I'm concerned with having them as warrants, everybody seeing 12 warrants for the school and going, no way, and then not approving any of them, that's what I'm concerned with. And versus, you know, the budget and the 2 CBAs and, you know, the last one, and then we look at everything next year, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can
For
put them
capital
on next
reserves
year,
and
you
whatnot.
know, they'll still be there, and there's still the need, and if you
Right.
wanna simplify it, that certainly is legitimate.
That's just my own concern, I mean, I'd almost like to amend Greg's motion just to have.
Well, we can vote on his motion and then, so all those in favor of accepting all of the intent of all of the warrant articles that are on the page, say aye.
well, I wanna hear more about what she has to say. Some want to hold off or talk more about your concern.
Well, I was gonna say, I would amend the motion to be 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12.
So do you think you're really gonna, you know, just taking out the leftover funds, do you think it's really gonna affect people that much?
Yeah, I think if Stacy, I think, first of all, the first thing they're gonna read is raise and appropriate. That's the first thing they're gonna read, which is, to some people that don't realize it, they're gonna think that that means our taxes are going up. And I just think if they see 12 warrant articles, they're just gonna be like, you know, the school wants all this, you know, and a $500,000 or $700,000 increase.
Right.
I'm just concerned that
So-
that's gonna affect the passing of the contract.
Okay, so you amended it to, so there's an amendment on the floor for 7, 8,
9, 10, and
9, 10, and 12. And do I have a second for the amendment?
I'll second it.
Okay, so now we're voting on the amendment.
All right. Just a quick discussion, this, I think it pertains to the amendment. I think the people, the reality is that any money we take out of, any money we take out of, you know, our, that we're gonna return to the town, does have a tax impact, and the tax impact it has is that's that much less to give the town to take taxes back.
Right, that's true,
So,
yeah.
so it does have a tax impact, it does, you can't say,
Right.
there is no, but the tax impact is future,
Right.
it's in the next fiscal year as opposed to immediate. So, there is a tax impact of 2 and 3, even though, it's not immediate.
We could fund them up to $1.
Yeah, I could, yeah.
And the one thing I want to point out, I'm not sure how many years you people have been adding to your building maintenance fund, but,
Just a couple.
okay,
Oh.
but there's been a lot, that would be number 4.
Right.
So $10,000.
Right, there's been,
Yeah.
from what I could see, there's been 10,000 for a few years
Just-
now.
just a couple.
Just the last 2.
Yeah.
But what you've started to establish with Scott's plan is, you know, a cycle for replacing
Right.
things. You're gonna lose that ability to have that built up for bigger projects if you don't fund that article. I just wanna
Okay,
point
so-
that out.
So,
Yeah, I like
well,
the
that
fund,
makes
yeah.
sense, yeah.
Oh, that was in your amendment?
No,
We can vote on that in a separate
yeah.
Yeah.
motion after,
Yeah.
because I think that's good advice.
Yeah, you can't amend an amendment, sorry.
Okay, so we'll vote on the amendment first.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, and so now we're gonna vote on the intent of Articles 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12.
Right.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Right.
Okay,
And
and
I would
so
also,
now we're
Right.
going to,
yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept Article 4.
Second.
It's the $10,000 to the building, school building and grounds maintenance fund.
right, like we've been doing
Right,
from the fund balance.
it's on fund balance.
Do I have a second? Did you already second it, Sharon?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, any discussion?
Is it worth even just, or can you even just create the capital reserves in 2 and 3 without putting an extra anything into it? You just create them and add $0 or create them and put $1
You
in
put
just
a
so they're
dollar
there?
into it.
Does it make sense at least starting them now? I don't know.
It doesn't really matter, but I mean, it does take a warrant article to create them.
Right.
A lot of times people create them and put something into them at the same time. It's really up to you.
Right.
I think what Andy was saying before is the perception of so much, it's a perception of expenditure that you're concerned about. If you're not going to fund them, it can wait a year.
Right.
And then you won't have, hopefully you won't have the CBAs on it because they will have passed.
Right,
And so
and
the
those
That's
are-
my
warrant
hope,
will,
yeah.
it
So
will be
that
last
next year.
and it'll pass more
Right.
easily.
You won't have that
And those are so
bulk.
important to
Yeah.
get passed this year.
But I guarantee that when people see the 744,000, they're gonna be sticker shock.
So,
I mean, I ran for office last year and the budget didn't go up that much. And, you know, and I heard a lot, and this is gonna be,
The only consolation prize you have is, if there is one here, is your default budget is gonna be almost dollar for dollar.
right, I know it
Yeah.
is. I know, and it shows you that we actually are controlling costs that we can control.
Exactly.
But there's gonna be sticker shock, and there's gonna be, and people are gonna see this,
Yeah.
and
They're gonna be
there's
picketing
gonna
and
be,
No, there will be a gulp, I know.
yeah, there's gonna be a huge
Deep
gulp.
breath.
And there's gonna be a lot of frustration out there, because they're gonna look at the default budget, and it's not gonna be different.
There's gonna be no rescue. Yeah.
There's no rescue, and so, you know, I think, you know, we could see significant changes in our budget in the deliberative session.
So are you suggesting then to not put on 2 and 3, but just put on 4?
Yes,
Okay,
because they voted for that in the past, and.
they're accustomed to it.
Right, because like I said, in 2 and 3, it does have a tax impact, but it's in the future, because we're returning $50,000 less to the town.
I think it's a good argument to just
Yeah.
keep it simple.
Yeah. Well, that's Sharon's argument, actually. I'm endorsing
Okay, so all those in favor of adding 4?
Aye.
it. All right.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we're done with the warrant articles.
So I just real quick, 5 was, we didn't add 5. So I
Yeah, we need
assume-
to be creative with that one and fund balance and whatnot this year, so.
So we got.
That's what I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I wouldn't touch it, hope for 50,000 in your unexpended fund
So-
balance and use that.
Right.
for what it's worth, I mean, one of my concerns is, I mean, there's not much we can do about it, but we're pushing things up, so we're just gonna do them next year. And, you know, what if it doesn't pass, or teacher contract doesn't pass, we're still in the same boat? And that's just my concern.
We are, you're right, we are still in the same boat, but I think that has to be our priority, and until the teacher contract passes for a length of time, then we can get those in there, then that's
Right.
where I see the priority. That's just my opinion, I'm one person.
I have one positive thing that I forgot to mention previously. It doesn't have anything to do with this, but,
Go for it.
yeah.
Positive is good.
The impact fees, I got the figure
Right.
from the town, and there's $59,711 in the pot right now. What do you want me to do with that? Do you want me to increase what I've told, what's her name? Jeannie Sams at the Department of Revenue, was that, I think you projected 12,000, for your tax impact
Right.
for this year, but then, you know, I need to put a number in the revenue for next year. So what is your advice?
I would say, based on the budget, I would say, put it all into the budget for next year.
Next year, the whole 59,000.
Well, you have to put at least, don't you have to put at least what we said we were
Yeah,
gonna put in?
we have to accept the revenue that we have on the revenue sheet.
Absolutely, but it's coming in every day, so we
Yeah.
need a projection for next year,
Mhm.
and you're saying to project at that level.
So
Yes.
what does
Yeah.
that mean again, 'cause I'm not
If-
recalling.
It reduces the amount that you have to
Raise in
raise in taxes because it's a revenue source for you.
For this
Fiscal
14,
year.
15 budget.
For the 14-15 budget. Remember last night, we only had about $33,000 up there so far that we could count on,
Okay.
because we don't know our
Okay,
state
so it's-
adequacy or our state education
Okay,
grant
so that will
yet.
help get this budget passed and with.
It
with
will
the
help
tax impact.
reduce the amount that
Yes.
the taxpayers
Okay.
have to.
Right. Because we have the option, if we could raise more this year, minusing the impact fees, instead of impact fees, if we raise more this year than we have in the budget, we can actually defer it to next year's budget.
We
That's one of the
also,
things we can do.
if we raise more, we can't accept from someplace else too.
Well, if you get that, whatever number that was
Yeah.
up there.
All right.
You know,
Right.
you're in the clear,
Right,
you know,
Right.
yeah.
that's right, that's right.
Whatever warrant article that was, I lost track, 12, I think.
So, do you need a motion from the board on that, Sue?
I would think, yeah.
Okay, and so,
I make
We
a
just-
motion.
go ahead. No, go
I
for
make
it.
a motion that we
Allocate.
allocate $60,000 in revenue from impact fees in next year's 14-15
Revenue
revenue
projections.
projection.
All right, I'm gonna second that, but I have a question.
That's-
So that means that we're saying because we got because we have $59,000 in the pot right now, that we're projecting next year we're gonna take in 60,000 in impact fees? Or that's this 60,000 that we have in the pot,
It
we're
mean-
putting towards next year?
It means we'll take 12 out of that pot, because that's what you projected to do for last year at this
Okay.
time. And then next year, you'll take $60,000 out of that growing pot to,
Right.
towards revenue for
Revenue.
impact fees.
Okay.
Right, because we'll be able to take,
So last year, I think that was when Lori asked us, how much do we wanna take, and that's what we told her.
right,
Take half of it or
Right.
whatever, because I think it was
Yeah.
24,000.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanna make sure I
Yeah, there was just
understand.
$3,300 or $3,700,
Yeah, they came in
$3,761 that
today.
came in today,
Yeah.
and she said she's receiving, this is the time where she gets.
right. We got our,
Revenue.
we got November, December, and we got all
The houses,
January, we got
right.
January through June next year too, that will apply
Exactly,
to us
but I'm
next
just
year. So we
keeping
could
it
have
straight.
So that means
starting.
we'll have 47,000 left, so we're counting on 13,000 being added back in.
Yeah,
It's a reasonable risk.
it's
No,
very
yeah.
reasonable, yeah.
Yes.
I just wanna make sure I understand.
Yeah, no, they're all good questions, yeah.
All right.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Yeah.
And then is it the board's consensus that we would like to use the trust fund to get Scott on schedule with the proposed expenses? And if so, we'll just make sure we put that as a public, we have to post that, right? Like it has to go in the newspaper and
That
then
has to have 7 days,
Okay.
10 days in the local newspaper as a hearing, and then you have to hold a public hearing.
And he'd like to do this stuff when, so we can hold the public hearing.
We don't have to do it now, the roofs on the modulars will be done in the summer. The intercom system could be done at any time. And what are the other ones that he's got?
So the
vacuum accessories.
Yeah,
rotary
yeah,
scrubber.
he's expecting the equipment that he has now to last to the next fiscal year, so.
So we can hold the public hearing in December and
That's-
advertise it now, that's
Yeah,
my
you could
point.
hold, you
We don't
could
have to do
literally
it
hold it
like
in
that.
June. You
Yeah,
could hold
yeah,
it in
you
June.
sent that.
Well,
You
no,
can't-
because
you
if
can't
you get the
advertise.
intercom system,
It would be
we can
nice
do
for
that
school to
during
get the
February
intercom
vacation,
system.
you know?
Yeah.
But we can't,
So
You
JR
can't-
doesn't have to scream, I know he's, yeah.
we can't advertise and hold it whenever we want.
I suspect that
We have to
the only
figure out
thing
when
now
we're
would
gonna
be
hold
the
it.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but we could do it in December and advertise it
Yeah.
for then, rather than advertise it right away.
So do you wanna have a hearing then before the first or the second meeting in December? We'll do it the same format we did before, 15 minutes before the meeting?
Yeah, if there's time to do it the first,
Sure.
before the first meeting,
And
that's
it
fine.
would just be 6:15.
So is radio-based the
No, I
intercom
mean, if there's
system?
time to post it in the newspaper and do whatever else we have to do.
Yeah, we have to, we should,
Yeah.
we'll check. If we don't have time, we'll move it to the second.
Okay.
So on here, it says radio-based is the intercom system? Water pump, rotors, vacuum. Which one's an intercom system, the radio-based?
No, the intercom system wasn't on here yet. I don't, unless that's, I think that's for the handheld radios. I'll have to check. I'll have to check.
I don't think he has it all priced out yet, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is
we
as
got-
much as he had priced out, it was this 18, but you can add more to it between now and, because you've got $30,000 to spend.
And
So I'll get you to finish the list, you can pick and choose what
it's
you want.
about 31,000 in the trust fund.
But we don't have to have the list before you post it.
You don't have to, you're just gonna, yeah, before
Okay.
you'll have it before the hearing to talk about it.
But you don't have to post, this is,
No.
all right,
No, it's just the
You just have
amount.
to post the hearing too.
okay.
And we'll see when we can get that in. Very good. Scott will be happy.
No, it's good to get everything on the schedule.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
that is right. Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to go into non-public for RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, little a.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
freeze on.
Johnny, aye.
Keen, aye.
Oh, boy.
Awesome. We're back in public session, and we went over the eval that we had, all of the information we had compiled from both the eval that the community and teachers and parents had sent in, along with our own eval on Betsy. And we had a lot of discussion about some issues that we felt might be of concern, such as maybe, I don't really want to get into too much detail about a person's evaluation, but basically concerns about maybe not having presence in the building, the possibility of, what else? I mean, there was a lot of
The concern
discussion.
about the length of time in previous jobs we addressed. We talked about the board as a whole, how we felt about how Betsy was doing, and what we felt, having worked very closely with her, more so than anybody else, what we felt was, you know, her strengths, and, you know, how we felt she was doing as a whole, moving our district forward.
Some of the results from the evals were that there was a group of people who wanted to have a full search done, and 34% of the people who filled out the form had indicated that they would prefer to have a full search. So after a lot of discussion, the board voted 4-1 to offer Betsy a 5-year contract with performance language included in the contract. So that is what happened in non-public. And I'd like to entertain a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session for this evening.
So moved.
For how long?
Or indefinitely as personnel.
Yeah, very definitely, yeah.
So,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I will take a
Should I
motion.
follow up?
I have a bunch of future follow-up that I had written down for the next meeting.
Well, I mean, I do want to say that, I feel that this would be a great addition to our area, and we'll work with it for a couple of months. And I really felt that it's important that we offer continuity to the school system. That's one thing that we're looking for. And I see good things to come.
So future and follow-up agenda items. Number one, I think I need to discuss the joint board teacher committee that is part of the sidebar of the teacher contract. Because according to that sidebar, we need to appoint 2 people besides the school board member to be on that joint board. Usually, I did talk to Deb Ganthner, who used to serve on that board, and she said that it was always the superintendent and the principal. So I think that's probably what we'll do, but I want the board to make sure it's okay with you guys. We'll get into that at the next,
Okay.
it's gonna be at the next meeting.
okay.
I'll explain it all then. But we have to talk about it as board. And then we also need to have the curriculum committee back.
Yes.
And we're looking for scope and sequence.
Yep.
That's
Yes.
what we motioned.
Yeah, and I've talked to John about that.
Those are the only ones I had. I don't know
We
if
had,
anybody else had.
How with the Title I, how the kids are being supported, the ones from reading and now into math. I think I had asked that a while ago, but it wasn't
Right.
anything for next meeting, it's just something I wanna make sure.
Okay, are you looking for something like an occasional report
I'm kinda looking for, you know,
of progress?
the kids that were supported, I know this is, you know, every year, and that they get released and stuff, but, you know, now that we were all, or majority was reading at the end of last year, now we're concentrating on math, all those children couldn't have, you know, miraculously gotten to the level they needed to be. So what's happening with that
Okay.
set of kids?
Sure. I can have Melissa come, actually.
That'd be great.
Sure.
Anything else for future and follow-up?
But didn't, I think Andy asked something tonight, didn't he?
What was that?
I forget.
We've got the hearing.
But I remember you said we'll put it.
Oh, the hearing, right.
Yeah.
The hearing, oh, yeah, one thing, the future policy is to, for the school board to either take a look at, come up with a plan to do with the tuition agreement.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tuition agreement?
And I mean,
Yeah,
a
that.
definitive plan and look at the options and see what options we have and what the consequences.
Right.
So, it's not exactly a feature follow-up on Friday, 4 o'clock, it changes from, but either me or my wife will be at 4.
Okay, well, I think we said 3, but
Oh, hi, 3 then.
3.
All right.
Yeah. That way, if you have any questions or anything, we can go through some stuff with you
Oh.
if you want to do that.
Well, to be honest with you, my wife's picking them up.
Okay, oh,
So even if
we will
it's,
go through it with her and she can tell you.
even if it's 2 o'clock, it's,
We
you
can do that.
know, you know.
That's-
you know,
Three's-
yeah.
We'll plan on 3, and
Okay.
if there's any changes, we'll let you know. One other thing I was thinking of too.
We can add other stuff.
No, what I wanted to mention was the 13th, the budget committee meeting, what are the plans of the board regarding that?
I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I'll be there.
Oh, on the 13th?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah,
there.
we'll be there.
Because I'll be there.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be there.
Then my support lunch.
Okay.
I gotta
Yeah.
put that down.
It's
So Wednesday,
we
7
present
p.m.
to
So,
the-
I gotta put
Yeah,
that
so
in.
we'll be there to support.
Yeah.
Okay, so motion to adjourn,
That'll be brought up.
So moved.
wait a second,
Second?
all those in favor?
I make
Aye.
the vote was to adjourn.